the first time I met him, there was a nightclub in Halifax called Stand Even. Well, it's a rugby club, but they used to rent it out as like a nightclub, and they would have like a disco type thing on every couple of months or something. And there was a band playing on a Halifax band called the Mooga Boys, and they were just like a rock. They were just rock, hard rock. And I just happened to go to it with a friend, and Greg went to it with his friends from. We were actually at different schools, but he was in the toilet, and he had the album cover by Creator, War and Pain. He had that painting on the back of his leather jacket, and I'd never seen anyone with that painted on a leather jacket, and I knew the album well because I was a big fan of that. Not War and Pain, Endless Pain. I'm going to mix it with Voivod. Endless Pain. And I went, oh wow, oh. So you like Creator, do you? Which was kind of obvious. And they were like, oh, yeah. And then we started talking, and that was it. So Creator brought us together.
Greetings, Legion, and welcome to episode 288 of Into the Necrosphere. It has taken me no less than 6 years to make it happen, but I finally had the opportunity to talk to the legendary Nick Holmes from Paradise Lost. We had a conversation that covered everything, including but not limited to their upcoming album Ascension, due out on Nuclear Blast in just a few days, at the point that you are no doubt going to be listening to this. We also spoke a lot about the band's past. Nick turned out to be every bit the great dude that I hoped that he would be, and I cannot wait to share this conversation with you. Before we go any further, though, we need to have us a serving of Unsanctioned Filth. For that, we travel to Minneapolis, Minnesota for a band called Inhuman Scourge. Absolute no frills, no wimps, ripping death metal. This is a track called Charnel Winds. Sending the Wimps, running for cover. That was Inhuman Scourge out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. The song you just heard is Charnel Winds, taken from the EP of the same name. It is available right now on Bandcamp. They have a second EP out as well called Haunted by Apocalyptic Visions. Killer stuff, and hopefully we will be hearing much more from these guys in the future. If you are an unsigned band and you want to get my attention, it's very easy to do so. Just drop me a line on Instagram, Facebook, or on X. You can also hit me up on intothenecrosphere@gmail.com. Send me a link to your music, and if I like what I hear, I will feature it on the show. A quick shout out as well to my fellow horsemen of the podcasting apocalypse, the Cosa Nostra of podcasting, and a group of men dedicated to eradicating mediocrity from your life every goddamn day of the week, practically. On a Monday, we've got Horror Wolf 666, and that's brought to you by the inimitable Brandon Legion. On a Tuesday, yours truly casts hexes and slays poses right here on Into the Necrosphere. On a Wednesday, we got your first double shot. It starts with Everything Went Black, hosted by Mike Hill from the band Tombs. There is also Iblis Manifestations, and that is brought to you by the Middle Eastern Marauder, my brother from another mother, Cheyenne from the band Trivax. On a Thursday, Mike Hill returns. He is flanked by his co-hosts, the Professor Jeff Kashid, the Outlaw Mike Scondado, and they give you Necromaniacs. We also have Soul Knox. That is hosted by the Sinister Minister, Carl Haikara. He comes to you every Thursday and every Sunday, and if you're after a curated journey through the dark, the weird, the arcane, and the esoteric, Carl is your man. When I am done talking to Nick, don't you dare go anywhere, because I'm going to be welcoming Justin Coleman from the band Krigsgrav as my co-host on this week's News Rant. We had a lot to discuss, including answering some of your questions. We also checked out new music by Blut Aus Nord. We checked out November's Doom, Primitive Man, Rib Spreader, Sanguisuga Bog, Underlined, and much, much more. That's coming up later on in the show. But first, we welcome to Into the Necrosphere for the very first time the legendary Nick Holmes from Paradise Lost. No. So welcome to the podcast. Like I said, I've kind of had I've had two of the linchpins on. Finally have you on. You are on the eve of album number 17, which must be like, does it blow your mind thinking about the fact that you've nearly kind of hit the 20 mark?
It's a bit. I mean, it's a long time, isn't it? I mean, it's 37 years. It's crazy, really. I don't know. Because we've never stopped doing it. We've never had time to stop and actually think about it. So we just keep moving forward and keep the plates spinning. So we haven't really had, it's other people that remind us how long it's been, but we still just keep soldiering on and doing what we do. So, but yeah, it's a lot of albums. It's a lot. I mean, the band's been going 37 years, so it's. I mean, you get less for murder, don't you?
Well, I mean, I can remember when
I've always wanted to say that.
I can remember when I heard you guys the first time, and that was 1993, I think. Out with some of my skateboarding mates, and we were all getting into death metal at the time, and somebody had put on Bolt Thrower, Obituary, and then suddenly I heard the song that was a little slower, still very heavy, fucking crazy, nasty death metal vocals, and then all of a sudden this woman starts singing, and I was like, what the hell is that? And that's when I heard Gothic and I heard Paradise Lost for the first time. And it was just mind-blowing. And I always think back to that whenever I think about Paradise Lost, because over the years, I mean, you guys have been, consistently one of my favorite bands. And as I said to Greg and to Aaron when I had you guys on, I've also been on board and was one of, I would like to think one of the few, certainly in my circle, that when Host came out, I was on board for that. When Symbol of Life came out, very much on board for that. There's couple of songs I wish you guys would play again of Symbol of Life, but it's amazing for me now to hear an album like Ascension coming out and hearing the new singles and going, it sounds like in some ways almost a revived band. Like you guys really sound rejuvenated on these songs.
Yeah, we had quite a bit of time to write them. We had. I mean, it was more or less 5 years since the last album. So after the we did the last album that we toured it, and then obviously there was 2 years with the pandemic, and then we did about sort of 5 years in between. So we had time to I think we actually started prior to the pandemic, and then we obviously shelved it for that period, and then we came back again. And in between, then we recorded the Icon album, and we also did the project with Greg, the host project with Greg. So, but I mean, I think when we re-recorded the Icon album, it kind of gave us a little bit of a boost in the songwriting, because we just kind of looked at how we wrote those songs, and obviously because we had to re-sing them and replay them, we sort of looked at how we wrote them, and we sort of said, let's try something along these lines. A couple of songs, maybe, not everything, but so it gave us a little bit of a boost in that sense, and it also helped to vary the songs, because some of the songs we originally wrote, we brought them back as well, and then I think it just created a lot more variation in the album. When you're writing an album very quickly, it can become quite samey, I think. So if you've got a bit of time and a bit of space, you can kind of really make the songs different. Obviously under the umbrella of PL, but I think you could probably have too long to write an album as well. But I think we kind of had the sweet spot with this one.
Yeah, I think there's that paralysis by analysis that some bands have, where they are so fixated with getting the right sound, getting every single thing exactly the way that they want it, that you almost end up in extreme cases like Chinese Democracy, where the album is just never going to come out because you're never going to be 100% satisfied with it.
You can definitely have too long, because when you get sort of meticulous with things, you can for sure. And then if you got so many people in a room saying this, and you respect this guy and this guy, and he might not necessarily be the right guy to judge whatever it may be. So you can definitely too many cooks spoil the broth. I think and that element can definitely creep in if you spend too long on something.
Has there ever been a Paradise Lost record where you've had that, or where you've been at risk of that happening?
Not massively. There's been where we've had a lot of opinions coming in on certain tracks and on mixes, and whether we kind of like it or not. And I guess you're going to get that. Obviously, the record label's releasing something, they're going to want to have a say in certain things, and if they're happy with it, they're just happy to let you get on with it, But sometimes there has been, hang on, this song should be like this, or a little bit of it, not that much, if I'm honest. But it's not like we're a boy band or anything, but no. Where everything's completely tough.
You mean you're not getting advice on your look and how to manicure your beard?
We haven't got a laminated A4 piece of paper that has all the rules and everything we've got to do that day. We're not quite there yet. But yeah, we haven't really had much of that, to be honest. It's particularly in all the time, in all the albums we've done as well. We've been quite lucky. We've had a bit of a free run in that regard for the most part.
Yeah, I guess eventually you get to a point where you've got such an impressive track record. The label just effectively, if they sign you, they know what they're getting, and they just leave you to it.
Yeah. I mean, particularly the last sort of 10, 15 years, it's been very much like that. Yeah, there's been. I mean, obviously, when we did the host album, it was always going to be a bit of a gamble, which I'm sure there was a few people at EMI were kind of thinking, but I mean, so particularly the last sort of 15 years, it's been, we just let to get on with it, really, I guess.
Well, Host has been a grower, though. I feel like nowadays there's far more kindness towards that record than there was when it first came out. I mean, I do recall when it was first released, there were people I knew that were completely and utterly incensed by it, which I never really got, because it wasn't a guitar orientated record, but to me it was very much still a Paradise Lost album. I didn't feel like it was, at least spiritually, it wasn't that big of a departure from what you had done before. I mean, it was sonically very different to Shades of God or Gothic, but you could still hear it was Paradise Lost.
Yeah, it was very I mean, the songs are definitely there. I think the songs are great on that. I still think the songs are good. I mean, I'm very pleased with that aspect of it. I just think it was, like you say, as a sonic element, it just wasn't like a metal album. And I guess if all you want to hear is metal, then it doesn't matter about everything else.
Yeah.
So it just wasn't metal, and I can totally understand why people were kind of turned off that element. But in hindsight, it wasn't like it was a shit album. Beside that, I think that the songs, like I said, I think the songs are great. I think some of the best songs we've ever written are on that album, if I'm honest. But I mean, I guess it's maybe when you get older and you broaden your taste in music a little bit, and you can think, oh, hang on a minute, this not as bad as I remember that album now, because I mean, you can still appreciate crushing death metal and more melodic acoustic things nowadays. I mean, I can listen to anything really. If I like it, I like it. I don't really put anything into categories. But I guess, I mean, particularly if you're a younger metal fan, you tend to compartmentalize music, and everything's got a different tag to it. And particularly when I was a kid, it was black metal, thrash metal, death metal, and anything outside those barriers I wasn't even interested in.
Anything else is wimp shit.
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
Totally off limits.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I was like. You know what I mean? It was yeah. But so yeah, I mean, I understand why there was a kind of a bit of a backlash, but I still maintain it was, the material was pretty good. So
was there apprehension or trepidation in the camp before you guys put that record out?
We were sort of so much into what we were doing. We were kind of quite bold, quite a little bit arrogant about it. We were so much into what we were doing because we were really into it. Which we are every album, actually, surprisingly. But at that point, because it was a drastic, we knew we'd taken the drastic. I mean, the 1 second was a kind of taste of what was to come, because that was a lot different to Draconian Times as well, really, a lot different. But then we kind of took a step further with the Host album, and for some reason, the Host album had more of a backlash than the 1 second. But 1 second was still very different to what we've been doing on Draconian Time.
Yeah,
but for some reason, Host was like, "All right, you've done it now."
Yeah, I feel like Host was the breaking point for a lot of people. Whereas actually, you're absolutely correct. I think the bigger departure musically is from Draconian Times onto 1 second.
Sorry, could you repeat that? My phone just went weird.
It's all those porn notifications that keep coming through.
Nice. No, the fucking Ring doorbell just went off, and then it altered the sound on my phone.
I've got that as well. No, I was going to say the Host was the tipping point for a lot of people for some bizarre reason. Even though the bigger sonic departure was actually from Draconian Times to 1 second.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, there's I guess it's more guitar driven on the 1 second album. I guess there's still very much that guitar element, but then that on the next one, a lot of that sort of. But I mean, in hindsight, it got us to where we are now because we kind of learned a lot from the recording process. We learned a hell of a lot from arranging songs and everything else. Because there was some space in the songs, you could kind of work on the craft of the how the songs would go together. So when if you're writing death metal songs, the craft is sometimes not always thought about. It's more about how it sounds.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, everything's got kind of a learning curve, and that album was definitely that. But I still, again, I think it's a good album, But
I love it. As I said to you, I mean, and I loved it when it came out. I was curious when you said, you feel like some of your best songs are on there. What songs from that album do you like particularly?
I like the song Harbor. I love the song Harbor.
That's my favorite song on the album.
Oh, cool,
it's literally the one I was thinking of.
All right, yeah. It's just every time I hear it, I'm kind of, oh wow, this is a really good song. I've forgotten how good this song is. Yeah, it's. I mean, I don't think we've ever played it live.
I was going to say, would you not consider dusting that off and playing it live?
Yeah, well, I mean, the song "Nothing Sacred" as well. I mean, that's another song we really love. We were talking about that the other day, actually. But yeah, it's just a case of how we're going to fit in with the set, and yeah. But I mean, we do So Much Is Lost. I always love to play that live. I mean, I think that's a great song as well. But yeah, I mean, they do So Much Is Lost. It does fit in with everything else, when we play it live. So, but who knows,
Yeah, I mean, Harbor would be a different song to play live. Like
well, it's incredibly laid back.
Lost can that can slot into a standard Paradise Lost set quite easily, but Harbor would be a bit different. Yeah,
well, the verse is very, very whispery and laid back, and it's. I mean, you could do it in a certain environment, but when it's kind of like with a real drum kick clattering behind you, etc., I don't know how that would work, but I mean, but yeah, I mean, who knows? I never say never to anything anymore because you just don't know.
Yeah, it was Host and was Believe in Nothing that you were on EMI, correct?
That was yes. I think it was. Yes, I think it was those two.
I was about to say, I think it was just those two. What was the experience like being on a major label at that time when you know, given where you guys had come from?
I think the people that were working there, as nice as they were, and they were really nice people, but they weren't actually metalheads or metal fans. So straight away, there's a certain division there because they're working on your music and they're enthusiastic about it, but they're not really fans of it. And I think being on labels since then and prior to that, the people that were involved were always from that background. They were metal fans, or or they'd been in bands, or they're still in bands. Or they are total into the genre, and they've got a passion for the music that they're working on. Not necessarily, maybe they might not like your band, but they're still into that genre. And EMI was different at that. And like I said, they were all really nice people that worked there. I got nothing negative to say about any of the guys we met, but they're just not from our world, So it was very much like being a small fish in a big pond. That's
how did that differ from your expectations, though? Because at the time you'd have been late 20s, early 30s.
Yeah, if that, yeah. It was. I mean, we had a lot of fun. I mean, we really did have a lot of fun around those times. But I mean, there was so much drinking; it was crazy. I mean, it was ridiculous. I mean, we were trying to live the dream kind of thing. We were just kind of going mad with the booze. I mean, it was ridiculous, to be honest. I mean, I think I mean, we kind of we're not one of these bands that kind of goes on, oh yeah, we were so pissed, we were hammered, or we're not that kind of band. I mean, we don't really do that. We don't really talk about it. But I mean, we were kind of up there, it was ridiculous. So I mean, there was a lot of boozing going on for sure around those times, and that's why I probably can't remember most of it, to be honest.
Excuse me. I have a story. So let me ask you this question. I'll tell you a story quickly. Do you still drink?
Yeah.
Okay. So when Greg was on the podcast, I had seen a previous interview of his, and I actually try and, generally speaking, especially if I'm going to have someone on whose music I know really, really well, band that I've been a long time fan of, I will purposefully avoid any interviews with them because I don't want anything to color what my conversation is going to be like. But I'd seen this interview, and he was talking about how much he loves red wine, and I'm like, fucking brilliant! That's a way to start the conversation. So I've got my bottle of red wine, the glass, ready to start talking, and he's like, oh yeah, I don't drink anymore. And I was like, so fucking, like slightly surprised, just caught in the headlights. I took a sip of the red wine immediately and put it down, and I was like, oh shit, that was the fucking worst possible thing you could have done in response to it. But anyway,
yeah, but, I mean. He's not bothered about anyone else drinking, but he just doesn't do it anymore. But yeah, he's not one of these. You got to hide the bottle. He's not like that. But yeah, he quit about 3 or 4 years ago now. Yeah,
there's a lot of sobriety in metal nowadays. Like
there's
the scene from what it was like versus what it is now. I mean, you see it from a different perspective. It has changed an awful lot.
I just think it's when you're younger, you just drink more. I mean, you just, the thing is, you just can't deal with the hangovers now. I mean. The traveling schedules are crazy now. They're kind of more mad than they've ever been. You're getting up super early for flights. You're finishing shows super late. You might have a 4-hour window where you could get some sleep. If you're going to kind of stay in the lobby, kind of doing headstands and shouting top of your voice till you get the shuttle for the plane. I mean, and then on the plane, if you carry on drinking, the gig's going to be completely written off the next day. I mean, there's no way you can be good after that. I mean, and I know from experience. So it's just not even in the equation anymore, and plus you don't get over the hangovers. They're like 3 days now. I mean, I can't do 3-day hangovers, I mean, I only do a 3-day hangover if I know I have 3 days where I have time off. Then I will get, teenage level drunk. But if other than that, a couple of tins of beer, a couple of pints, whatever, that's it, But yeah, I mean, also, backstage, I mean, everyone's older. I mean, so. Plus, everyone's got cameras as well, so no one's going to be dicking about because they're worried about being filmed.
Yeah.
So everyone's just in their little sheds, keeping out of the way.
Well, you're absolutely right about that 3-day hangover. Like I found that crept in around the time that I turned 40, and the last time was 2022, I think. Actually, 2023. I went on. We had our work Christmas party. And I flew to South Africa 2 days later. And I remember the work Christmas party was on Thursday. Got off the plane in Cape Town on the Sunday. And as I was getting off the plane, I told my wife, I don't know how this is fucking possible, but I still feel hungover. And it was, from that point, I was like, never again.
Well, it seems to be when you've got a flight or you've got something to do when you're kind of at the worst point. Because some of my friends came out to Holland. We played in Holland a few weeks ago, and so they came out and they were just partying. They said, "Oh, you're coming out?" And I said, "Well, I've got to play tomorrow night. I'm not coming out." And they kept hassling me because the more pissed they got, they were like, "Come on, come on." I'm like, "No, no, 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 no." So I didn't go out. But then the next night they were still up for it anyway. They were still pissed from the night before. So I ended up drinking way more than I would have done. But then we had a flight the next day. We had a day off, but we had a flight and an early flight, and it was just, you know, anxiety is at the max when you're hungover anyway. And then you're on an aeroplane, and it's just with their head in the hands, sweating, like shaking almost. Yeah, I mean, I just can't be doing with it. I mean, I still do it occasionally, like the other week, but I really try and run for the hills. If anyone's saying, "Oh, you're coming out after the gig," it's like, no, I am not. See you later. I'll see you at Christmas.
So let me ask you this question. I saw you guys at Beyond the Gates, and this is probably the 10th time I've seen you. I was trying to count in my head, like, how many times have I seen Paradise Lost play? And I think this is around about the 10th. Saw you guys at Beyond the Gates, and I've seen enough of you guys to know when you guys are in your element on stage and when something is going wrong. So without incriminating anyone, what was going on there? Because I could, like, when you got to the end of that set, I did my observation was like, Nick is not happy at the moment.
Which was the bit? Where was the Beyond the Gates gig? Which one was that?
Greg Holland in Bergen in Norway.
Ah, the Bergen gig. Let me think. Yeah. I remember. To try and remember it. No, I remember it now. I have to kind of go back to the rewind in my head.
Your brain's already deleted those files.
No, we just kind of did it. We did it like about 2 weeks. There was so much on in 2 weeks. I did some Bloodbath shows in between, and then everything kind of starts merging after a while when you kind of do gig after gig after gig. But at the Bergen show, I think it was all right actually. I don't recall any.
It kind of seemed to find as soon as you guys hit As I Die, everything seemed to sort of start clicking again. But the impression I got initially from the first couple of songs was that you couldn't hear yourself on stage. Yeah, because I could hear you were straining your voice to get through some of the. A lot of the time, the festivals, and
we're not alone in this, because you don't sound check. You just got to, and if there's any, and a lot of the time, it wasn't really the case with the Bergen show, but I mean, a lot of the time, you if there's any flight connection misses, you're rushing to get to the gig, and you don't have time to set up properly, and you're kind of setting up as you're playing, which is never a great situation. And the front of house guy setting the desk up as you're playing it. So by track 3, you might have kind of got it, which is it's unfortunate, but it does happen, you know, and it happens to a lot of bands. So if you're not headlining, and even if you are headlining, often you don't get a chance to sound check either, but if you can't check anything and you're rushing on stage, and we're not like a band that can just plug in and play, we're not like a pub band of 3-piece, you know, so we have a lot of stuff to set up, etc., etc. So if for any reason there wasn't time to kind of sort it out properly, I guess there was always a bit of teething problems when you first get on the stage. But like I said, I mean, we're not alone in that. I mean, a lot of bands have a similar situation with it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was going to ask as well, like, what do you do nowadays to take care of your voice? Because you have to do so many different things on stage vocally, and obviously, I know you've got Bloodbath, but you have some of those death metal vocals, especially on newer tracks again that come in. How do you take care of your voice as you've become a more seasoned gentleman?
Like I said earlier, I just don't go out. I mean, I just avoid anything where you raise your voice. I mean, you know, I'm quite loud, I guess. And then if I've been drinking, I'm really loud. So that's the worst. I mean, shouting is the worst thing for your voice. I mean, yeah, you could do death metal vocals all night, and it's still not as bad for your voice as if you're in a bar shouting over some music to your friend who can hear you anyway. But I mean, because I did about 8 months where I didn't drink, and I noticed like the room changes around you, but nothing's actually changed. But people think things are better than they actually are, and then they start to talk louder because they're more excited, and it's like nothing's different. You know, it's exactly the same as it was an hour ago, but you're just more pissed now, so you're talking a lot louder. I mean, I do exactly the same thing myself. So yeah, I mean, I avoid anything. I don't go to pubs after shows. Show days. I mean, I might have a pint or something, or a pint of Guinness or that, but I don't. Yeah, you just can't hammer it. I mean, like, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. I just can't do shows and do that. And I try not to talk and just keep quiet and get lots of sleep. I mean, it's boring, but unfortunately, it's a true thing that sleep really does help. your voice better than anything else, I guess. And the old vocal zones.
Oh, what is that?
Yeah, they're like throat sweets.
Oh, okay.
I better get a free packet for saying this, actually.
Oh, we'll tag them when we post the episode.
I've used them for years. Actually, they are the single most the best thing for your voice, because I actually have them when I'm on stage. I actually keep them in my mouth as I'm on stage, because they kind of stick to your mouth so they don't move around. But they're really. I've used them for years. They are absolutely brilliant. They're the best thing. I mean, obviously sleep, you can't beat that. But if you're a little bit hoarse, or they're really great. I would recommend them to any vocalists.
What?
I'm not just saying that. It's true,
Recommended by Nick from Paradise Lost.
I've been using them for about 12 years. Actually, I've been using them for a few years. Yeah, they're really good.
What is in them? Is it like honey, eucalyptus?
It's like you. I don't know. What is it? It's kind of what's all myrrh. That's what they had. The three kings gave to baby Jesus.
I was literally just about to say, getting biblical on us now.
Gold, frankincense, and myrrh.
Yeah. Did you ever go down the road of getting vocal lessons or anything like that? Like, a lot of people in bands did. I think, especially as members grew older and they were trying to preserve their voice, they went to Melissa Cross and people like that. Did you ever go? I did.
I went to Tony DeBrett, who was famously taught Johnny Lydon, Johnny Rotten to. I think she gave him some lessons, Tony DeBrett. I think she's in the Great Rock and Roll Swindle, actually. I think there's a scene where he's at her studio and she's teaching him to sing. And she was really nice. She was really sweet. I did, 5 or 6 lessons with her. And the breathing, etc., etc. It was quite useful. And it was around the 1 Second album, maybe, where I kind of visit. And I went to her house in London. But that's the only time I did it. But I definitely learned, the breathing was definitely something I never really thought about before. So I learned something there. But yeah, she was kind of the go-to singing tutor at that time. But I think she taught a lot of people, famous singers to sing. I think Seal used to. I think she taught him. Well, didn't teach him, but she, trained him, as it were. So
Seal's got a fantastic voice.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I'm pretty sure. I haven't seen it for a long time, but I'm pretty sure she's in the Great Rock and Roll Swindle. I'm sure she's in that. And there's a scene with John Lydon in it, which is quite, from what I remember, it's quite amusing. But it was a while ago I saw it.
Have you ever seen that? It's on YouTube somewhere, where there's a busker. I believe he's in Oxford Circus, and he's singing a Seal song, and Seal comes to stand next to him and starts singing the song with him.
I haven't seen that. I saw the one with Jimmy Somerville, where he's singing the Small Town. I think it was Small Town Boy. It could have been Small Town Boy. And then Jimmy Somerville did the same thing, and then he started singing along with him. So it just makes you think if it was set up, doesn't it? Really, but
yeah, possibly. I mean, even so, though, if you
it's
were
great.
There and you saw it, I would have thought this is fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
Were you self-conscious at all when you began to sing? When you kind of moved away from the death metal vocals after Gothic, and I ask it because I had an interesting conversation with Aaron from My Dying Bride, and he was saying that when he first started clean singing, he actually had to pull his shirt over his head and turn away from the band because he didn't want them to see him. And I kind of get it. It's a much more kind of naked expression of emotion and of yourself than just roaring like a fucking lion.
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely. Yeah, you're definitely more self-conscious of it. I remember when I was trying to kind of sneak in elements of it in some of the older albums, where I can't remember the song. Was it the song Silent? I can't remember. It was an old song, but it was where I kind of almost trailed into a clean voice, and I was like, oh my god. And like you say, it's like you kind of all of a sudden you just feel very naked, and everyone's kind of staring at you. So yeah, there was a little bit of that at first, because like you said, the growl is the growl. It doesn't. There's not a lot of subtlety in it. It is what it's just there like a slab of sound.
Well, especially not in yours. I mean, you still have a great growl, but your growl especially on Gothic, was formidable. I remember hearing that the first time, thinking this is one of the most brutal things I've ever heard in my life.
It's changed though. I mean, because my voice has changed. It's changed how I do it. It's changed. It's a different sound now. It's more like an irritable bear now, like just coming out of hibernation, annoyed.
Yeah.
But I mean, on the Gothic though, I can tell when I hear it, I can tell I was very young as well. There's a youthfulness in the growl on that. I think there's a kind of teenage growl. It's a bit. I can tell I'm young on it when I hear it. But I mean, maybe that's just me because it's me doing it. But
you know what? It's weird because I've always thought of you as an older guy. Like when I even when I heard Gothic, I mean, I know you were young. You must have been. You wouldn't, by my count, correct me if I'm wrong. I think you're about 19 or 20.
Yeah, well, I'm born 1971, so whatever it is. Yeah, I was
20,
under 20
because it came out March 19th, 1991.
Yeah. So I was pretty young. Yeah, but
you've always sounded like an old man though. Like on that album, there's like there's an elder feeling about your voice.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess, but yeah, definitely voice has changed. It's strange how it's. I mean, when I recorded the Bloodbath album, that's when I really tried to do as guttural as possible, and I was thinking, wow, I don't even sound like I did it when I was. I mean, my voice had broken, I think, but it's kind of broken even more since then, I guess.
Yeah. If we kind of stay on those early days, what was tell me about like the first time that you met Greg. What was your initial impressions of him? How did the meeting come about?
The first time I met him, there was a nightclub in Halifax called Stand Even. Well, it's a rugby club, but they used to rent it out as like a nightclub, and they would have like a disco type thing on every couple of months or something. And there was a band playing on a Halifax band called the Mooga Boys, and they were just like a rock. They were just rock, hard rock, and I just happened to go to it with a friend, and Greg went to it with his friends from. We were actually at different schools, but he was in the toilet, and he had the album cover by Creator, War and Pain. He had that painting on the back of his leather jacket, and I'd never seen anyone with that painting on a leather jacket, and I knew the album well because I was a big fan of that. Not War and Pain, Endless Pain. I'm going to mix it with Voivod. Endless Pain. And I went, oh wow, oh. So you like Creator, do you? Which was kind of obvious. And they were like, oh, yeah. And then we started talking, and that was it. So Creator brought us together. So that's, and then after that, because obviously we started chatting about how much we love Pleasure at Kale and all the bands from that, and Death. And then eventually, as the albums came out, the newer wave death metal bands, we kind of just got into them together, and then we started hanging out, going to bars, clubs, blah blah blah, and then we started the band after not that long after, actually. I don't think so. Yeah, that's how we met.
What was your first impressions of him as a player? Because he has such a unique style of not just writing, but I mean, he's a unique individual, but he's got an incredibly unique way of playing. He's one of those guitarists that's in that rare air of, when you hear, three notes, you can straight away notice him that's doing it.
Well, he's never really had any idols in that regard. He's never really, as soon as he started playing lead, he's always had his own thing. He's never, I mean, he's obviously admires guitar players, but he's never really had anyone that he's kind of copied as inspiration. Because a lot of guitar players, they kind of copy their idols and then they create their own way of doing it. I mean, which is similar to when you start a band. I guess you just copy your favorite band's music and then hopefully you find your own way. But he's never really had any idols in that regard. I mean, he does respect a lot of guitar players, but that's all it is. It's respect for them. He's always had his own way of playing, and I guess that's been there since day one. It's always been there. And it is very much the backbone of the band. I mean, as soon as the first song on the album, Serpent on the Cross, as soon as that starts, it's unmistakable Greg playing. And he's the kind of the sound of the band is Greg's guitar, I think.
Yeah. What is it about the relationship that you have with him that I think that works so well? Because I mean, obviously, you, Steve, Aaron, Greg have stayed the nucleus of the band. You kind of have a Spinal Tap thing going on with the drummers, which we can talk about. But it's it's very rare that you have that degree of stability in the majority of the lineup of a band, especially having gone through all the different, directions you guys have taken, the trends that the rest of the world has taken. You've never even broken up and then reunited again 2 years later on Blabbermouth. But like, what keeps? If we talk just about the relationship between you and Greg, what has kept you two together, and what is it about that relationship that you think makes the two of you work so well together?
I mean, musically, we still very much like the same things musically. There's very little that each likes that the other one doesn't. I mean, there's some stuff he likes that I'm like, could take it or leave it. But we do come together on certain stuff. And you know, I mean, there's a lot of metal stuff I like, he doesn't like, but you know, there are a lot of stuff we really kind of go together on it, and that's never really changed because we still like the same music. You know, I mean, I think if one of us had gone down a different route and just completely didn't want anything to do with metal anymore and was listening to flamenco or something, and it never came back around again, then I guess it would be difficult. But we've never really gone off the path of it. We've always liked the same stuff, even around the host. We started listening to the same stuff, you know. So we've always gone on the same tracks in that regard, and I think that's definitely helped it keep going. And also, I mean, we got a very similar sense of humor as well. I mean, the sense of humor is really, I think, it's paramount in anything in life. I think you've got to be able to laugh at. You've got to be able to tell the rough with a smooth, you know, because when you take things too seriously, you kind of setting yourself up for a fall, you know. So,
well, especially if you're going to be in a confined space, you know, whether it's a van or a bus or whatever the case may be, with, you know, the same people for such a long period of time.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's got different limits. I mean, you learn that when and when not to push people's buttons, and you know, like I said, causing arguments for the sake of it is something I might have done when I was in my 20s, but I mean, now it's just pointless. I just couldn't be bothered. I mean, there's no point in pissing people off just because you're bored in a van. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just kind of a ridiculous thing to do, you know. But I mean, but yeah, it's just a case of just knowing, you know. But I mean, also, I mean, we haven't lived in the same town for a long time. You know, it's not like we kind of see each other. We only see each other if we're rehearsing or touring. We don't really see each other, or recording. We don't see each other any other time. You know, so when we do meet up, usually it's quite good fun seeing each other. You know what I mean? Because we haven't really hung out or kind of, you know, chewed the fat, as it were. So it's kind of good sometimes to meet up, but. Gone are the days of kind of going out Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and getting pissed every single night in Halifax like we used to do back in the early 90s. So yeah, it's just kind of nice to go hook up and yeah, I mean, basically musically, we never really wandered off the path. We're still into the same stuff, you know.
He said something that I thought was extremely interesting when I spoke to him, and it's been a fascination of mine since I've started doing this podcast. You know, you look at a lot of bands that have been around for a lengthy period of time, and there's not all that many that you can reasonably say they're still making music that is on a par with what they did in the past. You know, and I would say off the top of my head, Testament to me, definitely still a band that's making tier 1 music. You guys, absolutely. And I've tried to think, like, what is it about the bands that actually get it right? Like, what is it about Shane Embury that seems he's just a fucking wellspring of ideas that just never ever ends, even though he's in his mid-50s now. And what Greg said to me gave me pause for thought. And he said, I asked him the question almost directly, and he said, I'm a fan of music. And the way he said it was like I think if you don't embrace a lot of different styles of music, and you don't actively go and seek out new music to listen to and new musical experiences to have, I think that has a direct impact on your creativity as well.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say that I'm a fan of many modern metal bands. It's not really, if I'm going to listen to metal, I tend to listen to the old shit, because, you know, but I mean, you know, I don't think I'm alone in that. But it's but it's very important to see what people listen to and what's, you know, what's making people tick. I do think if you completely ignore what people listen to, I don't think it's healthy to do that. You need to know what's going on out there, whether you actually like it. It's something else. It doesn't matter if you like it or not, but you should still acknowledge that there's a lot of music that might not be your taste that is absolutely enormous, and there's a reason why it's enormous. So I always like to figure out what it is that makes, you know, some bands kind of tick, you know. But I mean, you don't necessarily have to be a fan to do that either, you know.
No, well, I have a 11-year-old daughter, and her very first live experience, incidentally, was we went to the Icon show at Shepherd's Bush, which she absolutely loved. I mean, she was 9 at the time, and she was watching it, and for the first 2 songs, she was just sat there still, and I thought, oh fuck, this is lost on her. And then when you guys hit the 3rd song, she was going fucking nuts, headbanging, going crazy. Like, eventually, I actually apologized to the people that were sitting next to us, and I said, "Listen, I'm sorry, I didn't realize she was going to do this."
That's
and
great.
the woman was like, "No, let it. You know, don't say anything to her. She's fucking awesome." But she loved it.
because my kids came to I think it was a Manchester show when they were probably around a similar age, maybe a little bit younger at the time. It was a long time ago, but and we put the headphones on them at the back, and they both fell asleep. They literally both fell asleep.
How old were they?
They were about between 8 and 11 or something around that. Yeah. I mean, it's 4 years between them, but I mean now they're in their late 20s. But it was it was, and I remember that because their mother just said, "Oh, they just fell asleep." So I'm like, oh, fucking Jesus,
yeah, no. that's a slap in the face, written out of the will after that.
But they're not fans of the music, and they're not fans of metal music anyway. I mean, they kind of know System of a Down because I used to play them all the time when I took them to school. So they still know all those songs like Chop Suey, etc. They know all that stuff, but that's the only thing they know metal wise. Nothing, and everything else they're not interested. You know what I mean? So
I was going to ask, what do they think about their dad's music?
I don't even know if they've heard it. I couldn't tell you. I think they've seen Darker Thoughts because they saw the video where we're walking on Ilkley Moor. So I think they've seen that, but no, it's. I mean, from day to day, my eldest daughter could ring up and say, "Oh, can you drive me here or there?" And I say, "Well, I can't because I'm in France or I'm in Belgium or whatever." And they don't even know that I'm not even in the house a lot of the time because I've always gone away to do gigs since they were born, you know. So they kind of got so used to. I don't even say I'm going away. I just go away, and then they ring up and go, "Oh, I didn't realize you were away," you know.
Yeah.
So,
how on average? Because I mean, you guys have been a hard touring band pretty much forever. Like on average, how many days out of the year are you gone from the house?
It's strange because you can spend a lot of time at home, you know, a lot of time at home, but then you just spend. It's kind of all or nothing when you start touring, and especially with the summer festivals as well. You're away most of the summer. I mean, we started on April the 21st, I think, and we've only just stopped about a week ago. I mean, you go home for maybe 24 hours or 2 days perhaps, and then you're out again. So you kind of in and you never really unpack your bags. You just still. So particularly with the festivals, and then the days of doing 8 week tours, we don't try not to do that as much now. We try and do 3 or 4 at a time. But I mean, I guess we do quite a lot. But I mean, it's not as much as some bands. I mean, a lot of the American bands, they tour relentlessly. I mean, you know, they're almost all year round. They never stop. A lot of the American bands, they seem to work way harder than, you know, and also there's many European bands that are similar as well, but from, you know, off the top of my head, the American bands just seem to do relentless tours, some of them, you know.
And that, I mean, I agree, and that has, unquestionably, that has to take a toll on you from a mental perspective, you know, even if you just ignore the physical rigors of it. You know, I would imagine maintaining a relationship, you know, maintaining any sort of semblance of a normal life if you're away that much, that must be really tough. Yeah,
I mean, especially, I mean, when our kids, I mean, in the early days, Steve and Greg had their children very young. I mean, I had my children relatively young, but Steve and Greg had them even younger, and it was very. I mean, you know, and with all of us, there hasn't been any internet for a good proportion of that. So then you're isolated straight away. And I remember ringing up. You would have to walk, like we always say, you've got to walk to Mordor to make a phone call, you know. So you'd walk to Mordor, then you'd have a bad call, and then you'd hang up, and you were just pissed off for the rest of the day. Then, so then you'd try again the next day, but there wasn't a call box unless it was 15 miles away. So I mean, all this sounds so alien to anyone who's kind of, you know, born in the last 20 years or something. But it was kind of, and then you don't speak to your partner for a long time, and then she's got small children. It's gonna, like you say, it does create. It's hard work with kids when they're little, you know. I mean, you got to be there for them, you know. We were definitely, definitely in and out a lot at that time. It was kind of tough, but it's the same. I met a guy in a band the other week. Exactly, he was about 27, young kids. Exactly the same issue, and he's got the internet. He talks every day on the Messenger or whatever, video all day, talks all day. But he still was saying he's having trouble because of it. So I guess even if you do see them, it doesn't make it much easier. I guess you've got to be there in the flesh, maybe, you know.
Yeah, 100%. I think actually just tied to that to a degree, this recent story that came out with the 2 members of Cradle of Filth leaving and sharing their contracts online. I mean, a lot of people are kind of looking at the contracts, but I think very few people have stopped to actually ponder, okay, what in terms of the amount of money that the band generates versus what the managers, PR, agents, crew, everybody else gets, and what they're ultimately able to pay session musicians, it starts to bring home a couple of very sobering realities about what it means to be in a band. Because when you're in that band, you're also not getting pension, medical, you're getting no benefits. There's no paid holiday. It certainly made me realize that it's more important now, I think, than ever to try and directly support a band if you like them. Because I mean, I think without asking you questions that are too personal or that you're not comfortable answering, but I think that certainly the money generated nowadays is less, or it's harder to come by at the very least. And it's a far tougher road for most bands than I think people actually realize. A band like Cradle of Filth is a good example. I think people would be surprised at how much the band generates in terms of revenue versus what they might think.
A lot of it's travel costs. There's so many hidden costs that no one even thinks about. Even just to get on the stage, if you're flying to X or Y, just to get there, it is astronomical expenses. And then if you're not getting paid, depending on what you're getting paid for the show, so you do have to rely on merchandise. Merchandise is like the key thing with most bands that I would regard as, if they're professional bands. But there's such vast competition now. There's so many bands now. That's something else. When we started, there wasn't that many bands. But then there's more festivals, and the festivals are kind of getting bigger than the artists that they're putting on as well. So they can pay less because their brand is bigger than the band. So they can say, well, we'll give you this if you want to play our festival. So there's that element. Was not every festival, but many of the bigger ones. So yeah, it's definitely, the days of the 80s rock stars that I grew up, that's long gone. There's still big bands that generate millions, but you could count them on one hand, I think, these days. But you have to go out and do it. You have to work. You've got to get out and play, and you can't just sit at home. You've got to go and do it. But it's definitely not kind of the way people think it may have been in the 1980s. With limousines and all that shit. That's a thing of the past. For every band apart from a handful.
I think a lot of people saw the decline of Western civilization, and they think that's how it still works, and it couldn't be any further from the truth. No,
definitely not. No, it's you got to graft, you got to work harder.
It's an interesting shift as well, what you said about the some of the festivals becoming bigger than the bands. It's not it was strange to me when it started happening, but nowadays it's not an uncommon sight that a festival is basically nearly sold out before they've even announced a band. They've not announced anyone on the bill. The festival is already sold out.
Yeah, well, the more sort of well known the festival, then that's. People will make a beeline for their summer holiday. They'll save up all year and they'll go to that festival because that's what they do, and they'll do it year in, year out. I've got some friends that do exactly the same thing. They will always go to the same festival. They save up and they blow loads of money at just one festival. They'll get all the merch they can. They drink, they get as much booze as they can, even though it's super expensive, etc., etc. So yeah, it's like it's like a holiday for a lot of people. I think they save all year for it, and they tend to go to one or two festivals, and the rest. Maybe not. And those festivals tend, like you said, they become like the real focal point, and the bands are almost like a sideshow. It's just the event,
Yeah. Now, here's the question that kind of stems from that line of conversation. Then, you've been at this 37 years. What is it that still excites you about doing this and excites you about being in this band? Because again, it's been interesting for me observing you for as long as I've done, observing you guys as a band. There's still genuine excitement about Paradise Lost. You look at Aaron on stage and he looks like he's having the time of his life. If I think about just the amount of positive energy there is around Ascension at the moment, like, you wouldn't imagine that it's been a band that's been doing this for as long as you guys have been doing. I would argue Ascension is maybe the most anticipated a Paradise Lost album has felt to me since, I don't even know how far back I'd have to go. Maybe The Plague Within, and that's 10 years back. And that's just from pure observation. But again, it's I always look at it from the perspective of, if I feel this way, then it's extremely likely that there's more people that feel that way too.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, it's great. The feedback's been great so far, and I think, I mean, we still love writing songs. I mean, it's when the song isn't working, it's kind of incredibly frustrating. But as soon as it clicks, it's just a nice feeling. It's like, oh wow, and then it's like it's almost like doing a puzzle in a way. It's like you solved a puzzle when the song starts to work. But they don't. I mean, sometimes it's incredibly frustrating, and it's like banging your head against the wall sometimes if it's not gelling. But when it's eventually, it's always worth it, and then eventually you get there, and it's a really, really nice feeling when you get there, and that feeling has always been there since we started with writing songs, and it's still there now. No matter how difficult the wall is to climb, once you get over it, and eventually you do, but that reward is still the buzz, and we still got it, we still get that feeling,
Well, what were some of the songs, if you think back over your career, that you were most excited about getting to that stage? Like, whether you were in a band room with Greg and the rest of the band, or whether it was something that you guys were working on separately, when you got to that point with a song where you knew it was working. Okay. What were some of the songs that you were the most excited about?
I think when we did Beneath Broken Earth, that was almost like a turning point in a way, because we hadn't done a song like that for a long time, and it kind of put us back in the music we started with in a way, and it was almost like, well, we can do this still, and it was almost like a bit of we found the blueprint again in a way. I mean, we've done obviously heavier songs around that time, but that song and the feedback was great for it. The video got so many hits, and it was almost like, yeah, we've kind of found our footing in that world where we started, right at the beginning. So it was almost like it set us up really well for everything since that. And every album we try and do a song that's along those lines, and I guess on this new one, Salvation is the closest to that, but we're always trying to do that, because I mean, when we started, we did like Rotten Misery, which was that was the Beneath Broken Earth of the early days. That was the song Rotten Misery, and it was like an epic doom death song. And we always trying to kind of do that, and obviously then when we changed, that went by the wayside. But then, like I say, Beneath Broken Earth particularly, and I just love the song. I think it's a really, I can't even remember writing it, but it just came, when I listened to it, it just came together so well. And I love the video as well. And so yeah, it was, I think it kind of put the flag back in the ground.
It caught a lot of people by surprise, because it was exactly as you say. It sort of recaptured the spirit of the early 90s, but in a way that didn't feel like it was. It didn't feel inauthentic. It didn't feel like it was, like you guys were just doing it for the sake of doing it. It really felt like a band inspired. That's what I've always appreciated about you guys, by the way. And I've said this many times when talking about Paradise Lost. Even the albums that weren't as well received, I've generally loved everything. But it has always felt like you guys have done exactly what you wanted to do, what you were inspired to do at the time.
No, it is totally. Yeah, I mean, everything is where we are at the time. It is like a chapter, I mean, every album is like a chapter, and generally speaking, we can kind of remember the things that were going on around the time that album came out. So I often reference albums for every other life thing I want to remember. I think, well, which album was that? And I go, all right, yeah, we were doing this or this. So yeah, it's always like I said earlier, you have to be aware of what else is out there and trends. But I mean, I think if you try and jump on a trend, it's just kind of, it's pretty naff, and if it's not you, and we've never been very good at kind of doing anything that isn't from the heart, to be honest. It's kind of, if it wasn't from the heart, we probably would just shelve it and say it's a bit shit. And we just wouldn't, we try and, we just try and be as authentic as we can, being true to ourselves. And like I said, the kind of criticism bar is very high with us anyway, as when we write songs. So if it gets past us and we still think it's a good song, then there's a good chance that there's other people will enjoy it as well. And we've kind of kept that mentality pretty much since the beginning,
I was going to ask you, how critical are you of yourself? So if you were to be in the studio, as an example, or if you were to see video of yourself on stage, generally speaking, as a performer, how critical are you of the work that you deliver?
Very, very much. But at the same time, you've got to try and enjoy it, because if you don't enjoy it, that's almost as bad as, because then I don't know. But I'm in the studio, incredibly critical. Yeah, I mean, but we're kind of meticulous of everything when we write songs, particularly these days. I mean, anything you might hear is there's no there's no kind of happy mistakes. Everything is exactly as it was planned to be. So it's, but yeah, no, definitely. I mean, yeah, critical of everything. But I say, but I've got to enjoy it. Sometimes you just got to know when to just back off a little bit and try and enjoy it, and then, you know. But yeah, everything. You know, I overthink way more than I would like. But I guess a lot of people do that.
Is there? Do you feel a weight of expectation on you as Paradise Lost? I mean, you guys are I mean, you're a pioneering band. You've done more from an innovation perspective in metal than the vast majority of bands of your generation.
I don't worry about what people might think as much as I used to do, because they will think what they want anyway. So there's nothing I can say or do can sway anyone's. If someone doesn't like something, there's nothing I can do about it. But like going back to what I said, we set the bar so high that there's a chance they might like it if we like it. So we just try and make something that we can agree on and we think is great. And if we think it's great, then but it's not a case of, and then if it's the best we can do, which we feel this is where we are right now with this new album. And if people still don't like it, then hey, well, you know, that's it. But I'm not going to worry about that, because
then go listen to your Sleep Token albums.
Yeah, I've never heard them, but yeah.
Oh, well, count yourself lucky. You were talking about like stuff that's trendy and things like that. I mean, my daughter listens to she likes Paradise Lost and likes Typo Negative, but she also listens to a load of other fucking total garbage, including Jasmine Bean, Melanie Martinez, like a lot of modern music that, like, I like a lot of modern, extreme metal. But Jesus, like some like modern pop music and stuff like that. If you compare it to the pop music that was there when you and I were banging, like Depeche Mode, Aha, and stuff like that, it's worlds apart.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, how my children consume music, it's just basically like eating a Big Mac and then throwing a wrapper away afterwards. You know, it's the equivalent of that. Because they're always kids. I mean, they listen to like dance music, I would say, and I don't even know what half of this stuff is. And they say, "Oh, they just played the stadium last night." It's like I don't know, I don't care. It's not my world, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, it's I find it quite disposable. A lot of that kind of music, but it's also a lot of it's very popular as well. I mean, but like I said, I was looking at my kid's phone and stuff she listens to. It's just like, what the fuck is this? I don't know any of this stuff. It's just. And she's like, get with it, granddad. It's like, yeah, all right, whatever. Fuck off.
Well, I mean, the very fact that a guy with a laptop can sell out a stadium, to me, raises questions about the younger generation. When I first started seeing things like Tiesto, selling out these fucking massive venues, and I'm like, you are literally a dude stood there with a laptop and a bunch of MP3s. That is it.
Yeah, I think
nothing else to what you do.
I think a lot with the DJs, I think it's the event, isn't it? I mean, it's the event as much as anything. I think it's just the vibe and the whole thing, rather than necessarily just the music. You don't kind of necessarily just go to hear the songs. It's the whole event, I think. Because my eldest daughter does like to go to those massive kind of dance festivals. She has done in the past. So, but I think they just love the whole, the whole thing, rather than just an individual,
as the younger generation say, they love the vibes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you surprised by the degree to which people still relate to and respond to Paradise Lost music? Because like if I think back now to that Icon show, it was just, I've listened to that album fucking thousands of times, but I remember hearing those songs when you guys were playing them, and it was almost like I was hearing every single one for the first time again. And I got the sense that every single person in the audience felt exactly the same way. You guys are one of those bands where, we mentioned Typo Negative. I think they're one as well. My Dying Bride is definitely one as well. But people have an emotional connection to what you do that goes beyond just going, yeah, that's fucking badass. There's something far deeper in the way that they connect to and relate to your music.
I think, we picked, when we started to build our fan base, we've had people that have been there ever since, and they kind of always followed the band ever since. We were very lucky to get a really good, very loyal fan base very early on, and we maintained a hell of a lot of that, and it's still there. And people are always intrigued to see what your next album is, but they might say, "Oh, well, my favorite album is Shades of God or Draconian, whatever." But they still eagerly await the next album, and hopefully they will like it as well. But I think we kind of got a strong fan base kind of early doors, and we've been lucky enough to maintain it, and that's what it's about, I guess, and this is why it probably enables us to still carry on. But I mean, also, I think there's a lot of nostalgia involved in it, and I mean, we just toured with King Diamond, and I just loved hearing those songs every night, and mostly was based upon, I remember hearing Abigail when I was a kid or whatever, and I just still love hearing those songs. It just takes me back to being a very kind of happy point in my life. Not that it's been miserable since, but my teenage years were probably the best years of my life. So anything that reminds me of that, and like King Diamond and all the music from that era, I can't wait. I love hearing it. It just takes me totally back. And even if I love their new stuff, it's never going to have a place in my heart like the old stuff does. Because it's the stuff that the soundtrack to your life, I guess. Especially when you're a teenager, and you're not interested in anything else but music.
I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and we were sitting in Greg Holland watching King Diamond as well. And when they played Halloween, I tapped him on the shoulder and I said, there was something going on in the 80s with the way riffs were written, that they were so simplistic. Like I'd say between 1984 and probably 1987-ish, they were so simplistic, so full of testosterone, and they were just so just completely magical, because you can hear them to this day, whether it's Halloween or whether it's Bathory doing Raise the Dead, or whether it's countless songs by Wasp. But it was like, there's no technicality, there's nothing verbose in the way the song is written, but it just works. It just sounds so fucking badass and cool.
Yeah,
and exactly to your point, it kind of takes you back to that time in your life that you were at your happiest.
Well, I mean, it's nostalgia is incredibly powerful. I mean, look at a lot of the bands now that have come around again. The old bands, they're bigger than ever, because there's a lot of guys my age who have got adult children who can go out, when they want to see bands. They don't have to worry about babysitters and shit anymore, so they can go out and enjoy, and even take their kids with them if they're kind of grown up listening to the same music as them. So you see an entire family's going to a lot of these older bands, and it's a big event, a big day out. So. But yeah, I mean, like I said, with King Diamond, it was just so great to kind of hear those old songs. It was like, just takes you totally back, and it's a nice feeling. It's good.
The only complaint I had about the King Diamond show, and I understand it's King Diamond, but I did see him as King Diamond in 2018, and he did do these two songs. I think it should be against the law for him to do a show where he doesn't play "Come to the Sabbath" and "Melissa." It's like I was kept going, like, maybe tonight's the exception. And it's like, no, sadly not.
Yeah, he just did the KD stuff on the KD tour, so there was no Merciful Fate songs snuck in there. No.
I've got two more questions for you, and then I'll let you go. The first question is, I've started to notice a couple of bands are doing, and this is purely selfish reasons I'm asking this question. There's bands that are starting to do like these deep cut shows, and it's deep cuts only. Is that something that, because you guys have got such an insane catalog of material, and you mentioned earlier Harbor is a song that you really like. I remember talking to Aaron, and Pray Nightfall was one that he really likes. The first time I ever saw you guys play, you guys played that song, and it was just, my mind was blown. It was one of the most incredible live performances of a single song that I'd ever seen. Would you guys ever entertain that idea of doing, like, we might throw in one or two things like Enchantment, for people that only listen to 5 songs, but we're going to throw in the deep cuts on this set? It's quite funny. I mean, with this, we had, like you say, there's so many songs.
We actually did a poll a few years ago where we asked people to put together the ultimate set list, and a lot of people, actually thousands of people, put in their opinion of what should be the ultimate set list. And we did every song based on how many times it was mentioned, blah, blah. And then we put it all together, and then the set list that was created was basically what we do now anyway. So it's kind of almost a pointless thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, we kind of have to really, when we put the set together, we have to kind of think about how we can't just pull a song out of the bag and just play it, because it just isn't how we work as a band. I mean, it's we have to kind of we tend to, once we have a set for the tour, which we're going to change, which we're changing it around again when we tour next time. But we tend to. But sometimes you can pull out some rare songs, some rarities, and they kind of go down a bit flat. And it's, while you're pleasing a pocket of people, the majority of the room might think, so that's happened quite often with songs, it's what we thought it was going to go down great because it was a rare song and it was a popular song. It seemed to be popular from what people said, but then when you play it, it's fallen a bit flat. So we want to make everyone in the room reasonably, happy with the set list. But it's always a tricky one, I mean, I think we dropped As I Die from the set entirely for a few tours, and no one seemed to even notice. And then we snuck it back in, and it's like it was always there. But we actually didn't. There was a time we didn't even play it, But yeah, it's always. I'm very conscious of what people listen to and what the songs that are getting the biggest hits online, etc., etc. But like you said, there's so many songs. If you just did a complete concert of like rarities, I'm not sure I would go down, if I'm honest. But I don't know.
At some point, I'll win the Euro Millions, and then I'll I will come up with a way to get you guys to do it, because I have to hear Your Hand in Mine live somehow. Like that.
Yeah, I mean, we
peak Paradise Lost.
I mean, we sort of do. I mean, when we do the album shows, which they're kind of fun to do as well. I mean, the Draconian Time shows are always great because people come out of the woodwork. People I haven't seen for decades come to those shows. I couldn't believe some of the faces I remember from the past. They were there. They're like, "Oh wow, I didn't see you for like 20 years or something." Crazy. But yeah, no, the album shows are they're good fun to do, and they're always, like I said, we did Draconian Times in Baltimore, the Maryland Death Fest, not that long ago actually. We did Drac. But yeah, they're always fun, particularly Drac. That's always a great one to do.
That's another very interesting thing to me about Paradise Lost is you guys seem to be the kind of band that can just fit in on any set, or not a set, sorry, any lineup. Like you can be on, a predominantly death metal lineup, be absolutely fine. You can be on a predominantly black metal lineup, be absolutely fine. I mean, I remember, one of the first tours I saw you guys be on was Creator and Morbid Angel, back in the early 90s. But yeah, why do you think it's so easy for you guys to sort of adapt to different audiences, and has it always been that easy for you?
I think with the more extreme end of metal, we definitely can, purely based on our heritage and where we came from, and a lot of the guys in the bands are, they're not that much younger than us, a lot of these guys, so they kind of know who we are, and so I think we're definitely more extreme. I mean, if it's an out and out black metal fest, maybe we would stick out a little bit. But we can definitely play the more extreme fest. Some of the more mainstream fests, I wouldn't say as much. We definitely get a lot of people scratching their heads sometimes if you play like a sunny festival with bands that are not necessarily that heavy, or in the more extreme end of the heaviness. But we've always kind of fitted really nicely in with the death metal audience. And I think it's like I said, it's based on where we come from. I think if we hadn't come from that, then it might be a different story.
Well, Nick, I want to say thank you so much for your time. Congratulations on yet another great record. I will be, if you guys play in London again, or hopefully I'll catch you on a festival, I'll see you around. And hopefully we bump into each other down the road again at some point too.
Yeah, man. Thanks. Great to speak to you. Thanks very much. Pleasure.
Good stuff.
Thank you.
Tyrant Serenade is the name of the song. The band, of course, unmistakably Paradise Lost. And that is taken from their upcoming album, Ascension, which gets released on the 19th of September on Nuclear Blast Records. Massive thank you to Nick for his time. Hopefully, we will get to do another one of these at some point down the road. And if you, as a card-carrying member of the Legion, happen to head over to their Bandcamp and buy yourself any music or any merch, you let them know that it was old Jackson at Into the Necrosphere who sent you. On the 19th of September, not only are you going to get to hear the new Paradise Lost, but you will also get to hear Stormcaller, the new album by Krigsgrav, and ahead of me welcoming Justin Coleman from that band to co-host this week's installment of the Weekly News Rant. I wanted to give you a little taste off of Stormcaller. This is a track called Ghosts. From the album Stormcaller, due out on September the 19th through Willow Tip Records, that was Ghosts by Krigsgrav, featuring my co-host on this week's installment of the Weekly News Rant, Justin Coleman. That is going to be coming your way very, very shortly, and it includes an absolutely brutal Swirly of the week. But before we get to that, a quick public service announcement. If you believe that Blood, Fire, Death is just another tribute band, then pack up your poser shirt, tighten up your huggies, and hit the bricks, because this is my Weekly News Rant.
A roundabout for judgment. And hang them where the world can see.
All right, on with the great Justin Coleman from Krigsgrav. When were you on Into the Necrosphere? I have in my mind episode 184, I think it was.
Oh, it's punishable on death. I don't know the actual episode because I should.
You should have. What you should have done is you should have printed out the thumbnail. That should be framed, and it should be in your study, or your, really in the the reception area of your house, so that guests can see. This is where the man of the house. This is when he attained his greatest station in life.
It's true. It should be in between where both my kids were born. As pivotal life moments. So I apologize for that.
It was a rebirth of some sort, of sorts.
Yeah, I apologize for that. But Fires came out 2 years ago, so approximately somewhere in that time range.
175. That's when it was. I just checked it now. But either way, it is fucking great to see you again. And I want to say at the outset of the news rant, congratulations on Stormcaller. A record that I definitely feel has had, I mentioned it on the news rant when we listened to it as well. I feel there's been more excitement around it. It felt like there's more momentum around this album than I can remember there being for the previous record. And I think with good cause. I think you guys put together something tremendous.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and I'm happy to be back on. Stormcaller is something that we worked really, really hard on, and we tried to take what we did with Fires and only amplify it. The successes we had there, we just really wanted to make better with Stormcaller and kind of bring everything to the forefront, whether it be melody, ferocity of the record, and things like that. And I actually think we did it, not to just speak hyperbolic about it like a lot of bands do, but I think this is our best record. So I appreciate you saying that. Very
nice album cover as well. Who did that for you?
That is the guy that's doing like everyone's art these days, it seems like, but Adam Burke goes under Night Yard Illustrations. So he did like Black Braid. He did that album cover for Black Braid 3.
But by the way, sorry, I continually make that mistake of talking over myself and calling it Black Blade as well.
Well, it's like you got the L in the beginning and R, so it's an easy thing to do. But no, it's David found it, like we had the album title in mind and he had already painted that picture. And so David's like, hey, this dude, because we'll never use AI. We're always going to use real artists. That's how it should be for metal. I don't give a shit what anybody says. So he found his painting and he's like, this fits perfectly with the tone and album title of what we want to do. And I was like, say no more. Let's figure out what we need to do to get it. So we did.
Excellent. Well, like I said, great record. We'll talk about it some more as we progress through the news rant. But we kick off on metalstorm.net. As always, the finest metal news website in all the land. Primitive Man has got a new record on the way. The article here says, on October 31st, 2025, Primitive Man will put out their next full-length installment dubbed Observance. The 7-piece music output was recorded and mixed at Bricktop Recording Studio by Andy Nelson. To taste a first piece of the new music, stream a video clip for the Social Contract single. Quick one before we listen to it. Are you a Primitive Man fan?
I'm not overly familiar with them. I've heard some of their stuff, so I can't say for sure, to be honest with you.
I know that people that are into this band are really into this band. I think I gave Caustic their 2017 album a try and didn't quite get it, but I may be wrong, and I may be about to be proven asleep at the wheel as far as this band is concerned. So let's give the song a quick spin, and then we'll share our thoughts about it after. Going to pause this for just a second because we were 1 minute 40 in. I normally give these songs about 2 minutes, and thus far it's been a bunch of fucking, like, it sounds like a child hitting a wooden spoon against the wall, and then some guitar feedback and visuals of Klansmen and the police. So it is, in fairness, a 10-minute 40-second song. So they may just feel that a lengthy build-up is required when you're singing about presumably the Klan. So let's jump into about the halfway mark, 5 minutes, 20 seconds in, and let's see where the business has picked up. That shit. I'm sure there's a lot of other stuff that's going to be a lot more interesting for us to listen to. I don't want to be overly judgmental about this track, having not listened to the whole thing, because it could be absolutely killer. Yeah. And it's just one of those songs you need to listen to from end to end. But for this format, didn't work.
Yeah, I agree. I think, is this a lead-off single?
Yeah, this is the first single.
I think if you're doing like a 10-minute social commentary piece as a first single, I appreciate it's tough to digest, but I don't know. That's a tough one to get through right away. So it's interesting. Maybe there's something there, but that's.
There are oftentimes, when I do the news rant, I'll observe it as well. There's oftentimes some very suspect decisions that are taken by bands relative to the singles that they put out to promote a record. So question to you, I mean, as somebody in a band, how much thought goes into what the first single is that you're going to put out? Like, what is your criteria, or the way that you assess what the best song is going to be on a record to introduce it to, your prospective audience?
We just picked the worst track on the record and figured, fuck it. No.
Set expectations low.
Yeah,
go, hey guys, it gets better from
exactly. No, we actually it's a lot of deliberation. It's a lot of back and forth with all four of us, trying to decide, and we try to think in terms of like what gives the totality of the record. You know, what kind of gives little bits and pieces of everything that's on the record, and has earworms, you know, and whatever you want to say about that. But every record should have memorable parts. So we try to think what gives you a little bit of everything, and kind of what gets in, gets out, does its job, and gets the fuck out of there. And that's how we try to think of it. So really, there is a lot of thought that goes into it, and it's something that I consider, it's like track listing. It's absolutely vital to the record. So yeah, like with Huntress, to us, that felt like the natural first single, and it just so happened to be the first song on the record. So
yeah, and it's a nice way to get the album kicked off. But I completely agree with you. I feel like it says, or it gives the listener a very succinct summary of what the rest of the record's going to be about.
Yeah, that should be the idea. So that's interesting if this is the first single from this one.
Yeah, I genuinely do feel like a lot of bands, they do this. I don't know if it's because they want to be different or they want to shun music industry conventions, whatever it is, like your first singles is there to market you as a band. That's done a fucking terrible job of doing so. But let's hope that things get better for November's Doom. They've just dropped a second single taken from their forthcoming record, Major Arcana. The single is called Ravenous. Now, I did absolutely love that previous single, so I have high hopes for this one. And November's Doom is a band that I wouldn't necessarily say they're amongst my go-to selection, but they are a band that I genuinely have enjoyed. And like when I've spent time listening to them, I have really liked them. Nephilim Grove, their previous album, great stuff. Hamartia from 2017. I know a lot of people didn't like it, but I enjoyed it. The Pale Horn Departure, that's definitely one of my favorite November's Doom records. But they've been a band who've been very consistent, maybe not necessarily always gotten the flowers that they deserve. And I don't know, who knows? Maybe Major Arcana is going to change that.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're really good at what they do, and especially their early records, they're really good. So I'm interested to hear this. I like the last single too.
All right, well, let's give this a whirl. Is it just me, or is that definitely a lot heavier and a lot more aggressive than I can recall November's Doom being in a really long time?
Yeah, it definitely is. I was going to try to find what record. It's the one with Rain on it, because that's the era I think of with November's Doom, which reminds me of this. I can't remember the album title, but yes, it sounds. I like it.
Yeah, I like it too. I mean, I as I said, it caught me by surprise a little bit, but production sounds really, really solid. I think Paul Kerr's vocals are fucking savage.
Yep.
That album that you are referencing there, by the way, is the Novella Reservoir.
Yep. There you go.
But definitely less melodic, less tuneful than I recall them being. And like I said, if I had listened to this and I hadn't known off the bat that it was the new November's Doom, I wouldn't have pegged this as being a brand new November's Doom track.
No, it sounds like they're kind of going back to that heaviness from that era we were talking about. And I like that. I like that sound because they do heavy and melody and that kind of melancholy really well together. And that's what it sounds like they're doing on this song.
I agree. I like it very much. I think that probably earns a top notch, I think, for me, which would be their second top notch in a row. Now, here's a question for you. And actually, ironically, it's about questions. I had some leftover questions from last week's Q&A. You don't mind answering a couple of Legion submitted questions, do you?
No, not at all.
All right. So Grind Your Mind 77 submits a question. Good morning, Jackie. For your next news rant, what is your pick of a band that has had an uninterrupted run of killer releases? It has to be a minimum of 4 in a row, and each album has to be essential listening. Immolation count the first 4 as an example. You can't count Werewolves, as they have essentially released the same album over and over again. How fucking dare you? Swirly territory with that last comment. Hope all is good with you. So what comes to mind immediately from your perspective? I would say I can name 2 off the top of my head. Actually, I can name 3 off the top of my head.
Well, okay. Personal opinion. And this one is, I've got 3. Do you want me to give all 3?
Yeah, go for it.
Acrecock.
Yes, I
Typo
agree.
Negative.
I agree on that as well.
And for me, probably Necrophobic.
Mm-hmm.
So those are 3 where there is like an uninterrupted X amount of albums, minimum of 4 that I consider classics or I consider absolutely essentials. So I can say those 3 bands for sure.
So with Akakaka, which 4 do you consider? Because I'm absolutely with you on that. The question is, where do you put that bracket in for the 4?
I'm probably going Goat of Mendez through Antichrist. That's where I would start.
Yeah. So the Antichrist. If we go by the strictest definition of what Grind Your Mind has said, there is one massive dud song for me on Antichrist, and that's called the Dark Inside. I hate it. Absolutely.
I love that song.
Stricken that piece of shit from that record.
I love that song.
No, fuck, it's dreadful to me. But the rest of the album I like. So,
fair enough. Yeah.
So because that is a band that came to mind straight away. I mean, I would say that the strength of the rest of the record still, for me, makes it essential listening. So I'm with you on that. With Type O, I personally don't think they've got a single album that's not fantastic.
Nope, I agree. They're all winners for me.
If they did one of those Metal Trenches like tiering lists, everything for me just goes to S tier, and that's basically it. Yep. Here's one for you. I'll be curious to hear what your thoughts are, whether you're a fan of the band. Behexen.
I do like Behexen. Yes.
I would go as far as to say Behexen has not released a bad record. And so in terms of runs, Ritual Satanum, By the Blessing of Satan, My Soul for His Glory, Nightside Emanations, and The Poisonous Path, fucking masterful, every single one of those albums.
Yeah, Nightside especially, that one's for me probably my favorite.
Yes, mine as well.
Yeah.
Dude, that Wrathful Dragon, Horror, the like first proper song on that album, it's just one of the most fucking barbaric, savage bits of black metal I've ever heard in my entire life. It's like the drums aren't even like a blast. It's like they're holding someone's face and just punching. It is just brilliant. Absolutely fucking brilliant.
I think they do a good version of modern brutal black metal, but still like it's got the right production for it, and it's not overbearing. Like it's spot on for what it is.
Yeah. Here's another one that I would add to that list. Unsurprisingly, particularly given the guest this week, Paradise Lost. I mean, Jesus. Lost Paradise, Gothic, Shades of God, icon. Even if you exclude Lost Paradise, then you add in Draconian Times. There's a 4-album run already. That's fucking brilliant. I happen to love 1 Second and Host, but maybe you're on the opposite end of that and don't like it. You could argue bit of a blip on Believe in Nothing, quite experimental on Symbol of Life, but then they go on with Paradise Lost, In Requiem, Faith Divides Us, Death Unites Us, Tragic Idol, The Plague Within. I mean, up to Medusa, to me, flawless. Absolutely fucking flawless.
I agree with that. I actually like Symbol of Life. I'm a pretty big fan of that record.
Me too. Yeah, I love it.
So I do Symbol of Life through Current. I love everything. And everything prior, like you said, there's some shaky middle ground, but like for the most part, I kind of like everything they have. It just depends on what mood I'm in.
And then maybe another one that's going to be a bit contentious, but I would argue first 4 Morbid Angel albums. I would also argue first 4 Deicide albums, because even though Serpent of Light isn't as strong as Once Upon a Cross, it's still a fucking cool album.
So Deicide popped in my head too. I was thinking that because those, on the strength of the first 3 alone, it's kind of like, that's tough to beat.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, the first 3, there is no greater trilogy in all of death metal. It's no fucking question.
I think that's fair.
Okay, let's move on to another question. Kelu666 asks, hi, Jackie, not enough room in the box to make my question clear, so here goes. By the way, you guys don't have to only submit questions through Instagram. As I said before, if you have one, drop it in the comments on YouTube, or just send me a DM with a question, or just, comment on a social media post. I don't give a fuck. But I will get to answering all of them at some point, and I love doing them, and I know you guys, or at least from the feedback, people seem to enjoy it. Anyway, so Kelu666 asks, the 80s saw an expansion of heavy metal as well as the birth of thrash. The 90s was mainly marked by power, death, black metal, and every other decade has something going. Since we're already halfway through the 2020s, do you think there's already a sound or subgenre, good or bad, by which this decade will be remembered? Which is a great question that I'm not sure I have an answer to.
Well, I think it's a version of, and I don't know what you would call it. What is it where it's metalcore or like a deathcore variant of that? Bands like Peeling Flesh, things like that. I think that's probably what's up and going right now. If you're talking about probably what's going to be popular, but I don't know what that's called.
I mean, I call it false metal. And I call it stuff that I don't listen to and thus wouldn't be promoted on this podcast. but I mean, it's like, for me, I don't really stay up to date with garbage like Sleep Token and Lorna Snore and things like that. It's just not music I like. So, but I do think if you were to think about what this decade will be remembered for, it's probably that kind of crap.
I think so too. And I don't know exactly, because they integrate orchestral elements into their music. I don't know what it is, but I will say this, and for what it's worth, at least they're taking like Black Dahlia on tour with them. They're not doing the Metallica thing where they're taking bands that. And I'll give them that. So
that's fair. But yeah, I would say my answer to that question would be, it's going to be things like Lorna Snore, and then maybe from a black metal perspective, a lot of this kind of, I don't know whether you want to call it shoegaze black metal, but really for me, stuff that verges on post black metal. They might think they identify as black metal, but as far as I'm concerned, they're not. They sound just very depressed and emo-esque, and they all look like they're from emo bands, and they just shouldn't be associated with the scene. Yet for some reason, particularly amongst those who think that everyone to the right of Stalin is a fascist, they seem to be very popular amongst that set.
Yeah, I'll leave that there. That seems, yeah.
All right, let's see what else we got. I'm going to give that Heritoire a skip because I think we listened to the previous single and that was absolutely fucking awful. Let's try this one, Bliss of Flesh. Don't believe I've ever come across them before, but they do have the pentagram and the goat on stage with them. The guys on, on that thumbnail look pretty cantankerous, so it might be worth checking out. As part of their forthcoming studio release, Metapsychosis, due out on October the 17th, blackened death metalers Bliss of Flesh offering listening the latest new single called The Awakening. Are you familiar with these guys at all, Justin Coleman?
I am not at all.
All right, well, let's give them a spin. So, a bit of background on Bliss of Flesh. They're from Calais in France. Been around since 2000, but I don't know why I've never come across them before. Now signed to Black Lion Records. And I've said before, I think Black Lion are starting to, they're definitely starting to step up their game when it comes to the types of bands that they're picking up and putting out. Previous album was called Tyrant. That came out in 2020. So Metapsychosis is their fifth album. And that song wasn't bad. I wouldn't say I'm completely blown away by it. It's not like it's offering me anything that I haven't heard before. But in terms of execution, the main riff, the vocals, possible.
Yeah, this is a band that, to me, I have a way of thinking of bands like this where I call them like a comfort band, where they sound like a combination or they sound similar to a band I really like. And it's not that this is bad. I like it, and it makes me want to listen to what they're going to do next. But it also sounds like a combination, or it kind of reminds me of like Necrophobic and Behemoth a little bit. And I like that. It's a good sound for me. So I'm interested, but also it's not like mind-blowing. But I like it.
Yeah. Question for you then. What is mind-blowing to you? In 2025, what has really kind of, knocked you back 10 paces? And you've gone, holy shit, that is fucking next level.
I'm still trying to figure that out, to be honest with you. But recently, and I don't know why this is recent, is the new Scour record, the one that came out this year.
Dude, what a fucking masterpiece.
Yep. That one for me is really it's pulling ahead. So I really, really like that record. I think people maybe don't listen to it because they feel of the attachment to. I'm wearing I saw Pantera the other night, so I'm wearing my Pantera concert shirt. So not to do a whole endorsement deal here, but it's totally separate. and it's one of the best things Phil's ever done. It's fantastic. It's really good.
It's so atmospheric. It's so fucking aggressive. It's just that exact kind of relentless, violent, harsh, extreme, in-your-face black metal that I love. It sounds, as much as it's not afraid to wear its influences on its sleeve, it also sounds very unique at the same time.
Yep. Yeah, it incorporates melody, but it still does brutality. It's really good. It's multifaceted.
Yeah. How was Pantera, by the way? I'm assuming that afterwards you've gone online onto Is It Sketch on Reddit and repented.
Yeah, I did, and I have to keep that separate because that's two lives. We can't have these crossing over.
You've confessed your crimes.
Yeah, and I've taken my lashes. So no, I've seen Pantera. I saw them back in the day a few times. And I've seen them now. This is my second time with this lineup, but they were great. They were very, very good. My litmus test to a Pantera show is, can I have some whiskey and have a good time? And the answer was yes. And I thought their set was very good. They pulled out some tracks I didn't think they were going to off Reinventing the Still, which was nice.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They Hellbound, Goddamn Electric, and I'll Cast the Shadow.
Okay.
Which was pretty cool. And they opened with, I don't know, this is like a spoiler alert if anyone's going to go see them, but they opened with Suicide Note 1 and 2, which I thought was great.
Wow. Yeah, that would have been very cool. I mean, Suicide Note Part 2, I can take or leave, but Suicide Note Part 1, I've always thought was phenomenal.
Yep. And then they played Tens off of Tranquil 2. Yeah.
One of the best Pantera songs.
Yep. So... Yeah. They tossed those in with the hits, so I was really happy. It was a good show.
Two deep cuts that I think they used to play them in the old days, because I think one of them definitely was on Volga videos, just kind of as a recurring song. But Regular People and Live in a Hole,
man,
those are two masterpiece songs.
Regular People should be played at every show. That song's so good. I always hope for Floods, but Floods, I know they're probably not going to play it, or Drag the Water.
They have done Floods a couple of times since this reunion has taken place. I mean, I still contend, from everything that I've seen, it will never be the same. There was a connection between Vinny and Dime that is, I don't give a shit what or how you do it, you can never recreate it. And it's actually, there was an interesting conversation had with Cheyenne, and I think this was his conversation with Alan Averill, which the episode is great for anybody who hasn't listened to it yet. But they talk about, Cheyenne was talking about AI and about his concern around how AI can recreate our loved ones and things like that. And I dropped him a message, and we spoke about it back and forth. I do think the one thing that AI can never, ever do is those milliseconds or those little moments of brilliance that somebody like Dimebag Darrell would incorporate into playing, into playing a riff, or that connection that he and Vinny had as players, the microscopic minutia that goes into making that what it was. Nothing could ever recreate that, because it requires human spontaneity, true human feel to be able to do that.
Yeah, and that's the one thing you can tell is missing, because it's good and it's a fun time, but Zach has his nuances when he plays the riffs and the solos. That's very much him. And if you're going and you understand your expectations, that's fine, but it's 100% not what Dime would do. So that is missing. It's a missing element, but
Yeah. Cool that you got to see them, though. Very cool that you got to see them.
Yeah, no, it was a great time. Anytime they come to Texas, I'll try to see them, because you never know. You never know when they're going to hang it up. So,
I mean, that's the case with a lot of people right now. And not to bring this conversation down, but like I've said before, there's a number of bands that will call it a day inside of the next decade. No question about it. Judas Priest, most definitely. Yeah. Metallica, extremely likely. Obviously, we've got Megadeth, who did the lamest of lame retirement videos. And who knows, old Patrick Mamelli might hang it up pretty soon as well. Which actually, on that note, let's dive into the swirly of the week. So the swirly of the week this week goes to none other than one of the scene's own. Like the most of the swirlies that I've done have usually been issued to trailer trash, like Anna Schnabel from The Guardian, or just fucking morons on Reddit, stupid people that would write idiotic comments on my videos on YouTube. But very deservedly this week, my derision is directed at Patrick Mamelli, once great frontman of the still legendary Pestilence. And I think, just for reference, I am still a Pestilence fan, and that includes both old and new music. I love basically everything that they've done, with the exception of that god-awful, fucking deplorable re-recording that they put out 2 years ago now, I think. But yeah, Mamelli's latest stunt, and I'm going to get it up on screen so that we have it for reference, sees him join the ranks of people like Sydney Sweeney, Belle Delphine, Stephanie Marto, etc., who have sold their farts, urine, or bath water in jars to their fans. Let me get that shared. So, on the Pestilence Facebook page yesterday, Patrick Mamelli, presumably Patrick Mamelli, posts, "Out of love for my Latin American friends," which by the way, that top comment, "out of love for my Latin American friends," I thought was particularly priceless. But the gist of it reads, "As you all might know, I'm leaving for Thailand after the Latin America tour. I'll be selling all my Pestilence merch worn by me during a show with my signature. Hope I can make my fans happy with it. They are in great quality, no rubbish, and worn by me. That's what makes it very special."
You know, here's my problem, though. Unless he's including the Paul Profanatica personal touch merchandise item, I'm not interested.
Dude, how on earth can you be so fucking delusional that you think that somebody is interested in paying? And sadly, I mean, I'm sure that there will be people that will be interested in doing this, but somebody is interested in paying good money to wear your fucking stinky, sweaty stage clothes.
I don't know if he's truly feeling like the fans want this, or if he feels he has a celebrity status that would negotiate this for him. And I don't know him personally, so I can't say, but it feels very egocentric. And I mean, what are we talking he's going to sell these things for? You know what I mean?
Well, he's not quoted a price here. I can assume it'll come at a premium. But I have to give kudos to some of the people in the comments. David DeRosa, "This only works if you're Elvis." Skylar Craw, "How much for your bathwater?" Aramis Amairon, or Amaimon, "Do I have to pay extra for the creatine sweat stains?" Igor Tinovs, "If anybody wants, I can sell my dirty socks too." This last one, John Tama, "I like how humble this post is. It gives you a real down-to-earth, warm, fuzzy feeling." It really is sad to me, because it feels like we are witnessing the slow public mental deterioration of a guy that once upon a time, if you weren't close to him, by all accounts, because I know I've spoken to a lot of people that worked with him in the early days and don't really have anything positive to say about him. But once upon a time, I mean, this guy was one of the fucking heroes of death metal, and those days are gone.
Yeah.
I mean, he has turned himself, and unfortunately, by extension, he's banned, into a bit of a joke.
Yeah, I've read some old interviews with him, and it sounds like he's always been very egocentric. And to his credit, he's created some classic albums with Pestilence, even post Martin. So he's earned those accolades to a degree, but the recent stuff, and this in particular, no, no, it's not a good look.
Dude, I mean, I doubt very much that he listens to this podcast, but if he does, you are no Sydney Sweeney. You are no Belle Delphine, and your core audience aren't a bunch of fucking sniveling simps. So, if you do make a little bit of money out of this, hats off to you. But from my perspective, you are a thoroughly deserving recipient of a Swirly this week. Probably an atomic wedgie, maybe even a double dunker. All right, let's get on with some more music. Now, there was one particular single that had been released today that was not on Metal Storm, but I know that if we don't listen to it, the Legion will bay for blood. Blut Aus Nord, Shadows Breathe First, taken from their forthcoming record. I have not heard this yet. I don't know whether you've had a chance to listen to it.
I have not.
All right, so this is a virgin run for us both. Let's hear what it sounds like. Holy fucking Jesus.
Yeah.
Dude, are you not impressed?
Yeah. It's the clean vocals were a little like they were stark for me. That caught me off guard. Yeah, it did. And maybe I have to hear it a little bit more it caught me off guard because I was like, hold on. The music I think is fantastic. I think the music sounds great. It's very much, it reminds me of, was it Disharmonium or Hallucinogen? There we go. Kind of that record. It's just, I think I have to know that's coming because it caught me off guard. I was like, hold on.
Perhaps, but so my prediction was when the album title was announced, I said this is going to be similar to Cosmosophy and Memoria Vetusta 2 Dialogue with the Stars. I think it's more like Memoria Vetusta 2, which is my favorite Blut Aus Nord album, along with Cosmosophy. So to me, this actually has exceeded my expectations. When it started, I was already starting to think of the snide remark where I would say, new Blut Aus Nord coming soon to a yoga studio near you. And then the song kicks in, that blast, that melody, absolute magnificence. Vocals sound great. And I fucking loved those clean vocals. Loved them. So to me, this is beyond top notch.
Yeah, I think I just need to hear it more. And that happens. This is just the thing with me when I hear a band and say I'm not prepared for something, it'll take me repeated listens and then it'll finally kind of sink in for me. So I think it sounds great. I just have to, like, I don't know, get acclimated to it, I guess you can say, because there's bands I love, and at first it takes me a minute to get the new record or the new song. So,
yeah, no, that's fair. And I mean, Hallucinogen was like that. I remember the first time I heard it, I thought it's not bad, but it's not blowing me away. But it was one of those albums where, the more that I stewed on it, the more it started to make sense, and the more I loved it. So, yeah, it could very well be that that's the same deal for you over here. But my first impressions on my side, fucking extraordinary. That is a top 10 contender for 2025 without a shadow of a doubt.
And that's fair. Blut Aus Nord doesn't do anything I've considered to be bad at all. I like everything. It's just varying degrees of how much do I like it. So
yeah, no, completely agree. Okay, carrying on metalstorm.net, Ante Inferno, Call It Quits. I saw Gary announce this on his personal Facebook the other day, which is a shame. I really like those 3 full-length albums that they put out. And I know that he is moving back to Bath, probably or presumably to be closer to the hosting site for Fortress Festival. And he's already put word out that he's available to play in bands that are nearby. So hopefully he finds a new home. But yeah, it's a shame that those guys have decided to hang up their spurs. Let me ask you a quick question, actually.
No.
You were talking about going to a Pantera show. So since you've already sullied yourself and your reputation, are you going to be heading to Metal Threat as well?
I don't know. I don't know right now. So
is it a possibility?
Maybe. We'll see.
Will you have to go with a face covering and or like a fake mustache and glasses?
Yeah, I have to completely cover up, hide my identity.
Well, did you see the I wouldn't say the plot is thickened, but there was a bit of a development. They posted the stage times, and they have on the stage times US black metal gods, US death metal gods, Poland black metal gods. Now, I think Poland black metal gods everyone assumes is going to be Graveland. So obviously Anna Schnabel is already, terrified because that means that it'll turn all of remind me, where's Metal Threat being held? Chicago.
I believe so. Yeah.
Well, there you go. Chicago will be a Democrat city no more after Graveland have played. But so American black metal gods, it feels like that might potentially be Grand Belial's Key.
Oof.
And death metal, who is on the outs with the wokerati when it comes to death metal in the US?
I don't even know. I don't think I can answer that question. I don't know who would be on the
naughty list.
Yeah.
I was trying to think who it could possibly be, like death metal wise, because like black metal catches far more flack than death metal does.
What's the band with the dude from Cobalt, the old singer from Cobalt, his other death metal band?
Hold on, let's check that,
because I thought
it's Verify.
Yeah, I thought they had some heat. I don't know if they're still active though.
Right, let's see. So you're talking about Phil McSorley.
Yep.
And he was in
Disma, I think.
So on Metal Archives, they've got him, and under Eternal Damnation, Grimness in Shroud, Infernal Holocaust, Constructs, Nachtwald, and Recluse.
Okay, maybe it's a different band then, or it's a different guy. I could be totally fucked up here. Obviously, yeah. I am.
I mean, Charlie Fell. I don't think he would be in anything that's considered verboten by that crowd. Although I do like Charlie Fell's work in Lord Mantis very much. And by the way, just to reiterate again how fucking bummed I am about Eric and Cobalt. I mean, I know they hadn't made music in forever.
Yeah.
But you could probably put Cobalt on that list of bands that put out they only put out 4 albums, but that put out 4 albums of fucking exceptional quality.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And out of respect to him, I think we should add that to the list.
Yeah, inducted onto that list. I'd add Neurosis to that as well, because I don't think there's such a thing as a bad Neurosis album.
That's fair.
But anyway, yeah. So just as a side note on Metal Threat, I was curious to know whether you were going. But let's listen to some on the topic of death metal. Let's listen to some new death metal by Sanguisugabog. Repulsive Demise, the newest preview tune from Sanguisugabog's upcoming record, Hideous Aftermath, has debuted online in the form of an official music video. I like these dudes, although they've never topped the brilliance of one of the singles off their first album, Pissed. Everything else after that has kind of been, it's been cool, it's been heavy, but it's not had the swagger of that song. But either way, let's hear what this one sounds like. If you are a death metal purist, I'm pretty confident you're going to absolutely hate that. I can't see J-Dog liking that song whatsoever. I myself, though, love it. I was joking about it not having the other singles that they've put out, not having the swagger of Pissed. This kind of has a throwback to that, and then some. It's got some of those industrial elements in, and we were commenting to each other while we were watching this. It kind of has a bit of a look, the music video at least, that reminds me a lot of Closer by Nine Inch Nails.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's this is definitely not J-Dog approved.
No fucking way.
But it has a really cool kind of industrial tinge to it that I dig it. I think it sounds good.
Yeah, no, me too. I think that gets that definitely gets a thumbs up. And I mean, this again, they're not to me like the best death metal band, or certainly not the best new death metal band I've ever heard. But they've got some decent stuff. You were talking earlier about comfort metal. There is something that I find comforting about their style of death metal. When you just want to listen to something that is just bludgeoning from start to finish, no let up. It's half an hour's worth of just smashing your face into the table. They're the perfect band.
Yeah, there's some stuff you just need to be able to put on, and it does what it does. So
agree. All right, I've got another question for you. This one comes from Misty Graveyard. Favorite black metal album cover? Why and what makes it a special artwork? Think carefully now. It's only your reputation on the line.
Right, sure. I think I'm gonna have to go Dissection Storm of Lightsbane. Good choice. I honestly prefer the Somber Lane. I don't want to even say prefer. It's Monday, Tuesday for me. Storm of Lightsbane, Dissection. It has a very Frank Frazetta death dealer type figure on the cover, which I've always loved Frazetta's artwork. And then you just take that and it's interpreted through Necrolord. The hues, the colors, the shapes. I have a poster of it in my house. I actually have a misprint. It's so it's from whenever they released the record, it's Storm of Lichbane. So I have it framed because that's special to me. But to me, the record top to bottom is great. The cover encapsulates what I want out of black metal. It's mystical, it's brutal, it's violent, it's melodic. I just think it's perfect. It's perfect in every way.
I think that is a superb choice. I'm going to give you mine, and this one actually is not. I'm not trying to be deliberately controversial by saying this. I'll give the reasons for it in a second, but it is Burzum's Philosophem cover, done by Theodore Kittelson. The reason for that is, when I think of Dunkelheit of Philosophem, I don't think that there is, with the arguable exception of Freezing Moon by Mayhem, I don't think that there's a song that better captures the spirit and the feel of Norwegian black metal for me than Dunkelheit. When I set foot in Oslo the first time, when the plane was coming over the city and I was about to see this, incredible place that I had, fantasized about since I was a teenager, when I saw it, the song that immediately popped into my mind was Dunkelheit. There is something extraordinary about the track, and that album cover for me captures everything about the song, and therefore almost everything that I love about the scene. It's just, as I said, I love it. I can't get enough of it, and it's the first thing that springs to mind anytime I think of black metal is that cover, that song.
No, it's a good, and I think that's what it has to be. Is does the cover correlate to what you expect the music to sound like? It has to.
Yeah, I would say another one that I really like would be In the Nightside Eclipse by Emperor. I've always really loved that album, and not just the album, the album cover, the cover with the mountains and stuff like that.
Yep.
Again, it has that cold feeling, but also that feeling of the mystical, the arcane. You've got so much detail kind of hidden away in the cover as well. It's kind of like Emperor's music in many ways, and what I love is that you have the horseman on the clouds, and obviously that horseman is featured elsewhere on Emperor records or Emperor album covers or t-shirts and things like that. That almost felt to me like a bit of an Easter egg when you first see it, when you see it for the first time. So that to me is also that's an album cover that I find very special, and that record's very special to me also.
Yep, I have Storm of Lightsbane and that record. I have both posters and flags and hung up. They're amazing.
So let's give you a different one. Bonus for the Legion. Favorite death metal album cover?
Oh shit. This is a tough one for me. Does it have to be good or just my favorite?
Just your favorite.
Vital Remains Dechristianize.
Oh yeah. What now? Here's a question for you. What do you like about that album cover?
Again, it just says exactly what the record is. It's a bludgeoning death metal that's anti-Christian, and that's what you get.
I was about to say there's no mistaking what the album's going to be about once you see the album cover.
Yep.
Like I feel with Icons of Evil, they almost took it a step too far. Whereas it almost felt slightly cartoonish, whereas Dechristianize genuinely felt dangerous.
Yep. I think a lot of it's color choice too, and it just works better for Dechristianize.
So mine, the one that immediately comes to mind for me is Dawn of Possession by Immolation. Yeah. There is just something about that album cover that I love. I don't think, Immolation have had a raft of just incredible album covers throughout their discography, but I don't think there's an album cover that captures the vibe of particularly their early music quite as well as Dawn of Possession. And then the other one, which again, people might look at and go, "Are you insane?" You could barely see it as cover art, but I love it. Almost for, in some ways, the same reasons that I love Philosophem and In the Nightside Eclipse. It just captures everything for me about death metal that is awesome. Deicide Legion.
It's exactly what you want it to be, and it tells you what the record's about.
Yeah.
Like,
Legion for me was an album that you were almost terrified to listen to if you were young and came from a very religious household, and then when you hear it for the first time, the album cover just says everything about the record.
Yep, I agree with that.
So so that would be our answers on that one. Okay, let's we've got time for a few more songs. Unaligned have shared a new track. Blackened tech death metal band Unaligned have released their final single, Unbecoming of I, off their oncoming debut full-length A Form Beyond. That's a transcending obscurity job, so let's hear what they sound like. Thoughts?
It is, I think technically the guys are good musicians. I think they know what they're doing. It is not for me. I don't want to sound like a dick. They had choruses and they had hooks. However, this is a band or this sound anywhere where it's like I could feel like if I was at a show, it would just kind of fade into the background and I might not remember it. That's what I was getting from it anyway.
I often think of that when I listen to a band that I've not heard before. I think to myself, if they were a support band, at a show I've gone to see, how would I feel about what I'm hearing? And I agree with you. Very strong technically. They've got guys in the band that have been around for a while. So Taylor Tidwell is their bassist. He has been in or is currently a member of Accursed Creator, Visitant, Withered Throne. You also have Jack Blackburn on drums, who has played for everybody from Chaos Moon, who I fucking love, to Vital Remains. He's played with Nocturnal Maelstrom, Demon King. You've got on vocals Andrew Guia, who's with Withered Throne and Masticator. I think Andrew's vocals, to me, that probably captures what's going on with the band. He's technically very good. He sounds good, but he's lacking that punch and that rhythm that I love from death metal vocalists.
I almost want something a little bit more unhinged, and it's very like clinical, and that's what they were going for, I'm sure. And it sounds, again, it's proficient, it's good. It's just, would I replay it? I don't know.
Let me ask you this question. You no doubt saw my episode with Jensen from The Haunted, and he said something that really stuck with me, and I've explored it with a few other people on the podcast, but the idea of not recording to a click track and almost allowing yourself that space when you're when you're playing, when you're recording music. What are your thoughts on that as a musician yourself?
I think there's a lot of merit to it. I think It's a nice guideline to have, but I also agree with him because I've been recording in various forms or fashions, for whether or not Krigsgrav and other bands. And back in the day, we didn't use click tracks, used the drum tracks. And even now, sometimes I will record to a click, but I may not use it. I may just disregard it and do my own thing, because I do think there's a certain spontaneity and rawness and a looseness that you should have with the music to give it that organic feeling. It is important because that's what gives it its personality and its life. So you don't want it to be sloppy, but I did listen to that episode and I 100% agree with him because he's very old school and I appreciate that. And I agree. I think it's good to have.
If you can hear the dog making a racket in the background, I think she agrees with you as well. I'm just going to pause for 10 seconds while I send her out.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Hold on. Yeah. But yeah, I as I was saying, I think that what he said on that interview definitely stuck with me, and it's interesting getting your perspective on it as well. I think that's ultimately the issue with Unaligned. Overly digital, overly produced, feels very stiff. Like there's a feel that you lose when you start to rely too much on recording, on digital recording tools.
Yeah.
That I don't think it helps the music. And whenever you hear a lot of people say, well, it doesn't sound like it used to anymore, I think that's actually what they're referring to.
Mm-hmm. There is a level of technical expertise and it's great, but at the same time, you need to let some of those minor flaws almost creep into the music. Let the little vocal inflections where your voice cracks, like keep it in there. I know the guys in Primordial do that kind of stuff. I love that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And again, that's where the magic is, right?
Yep.
We all remember listening out for little mistakes that people make on songs, and those little imperfections. I come back to it often, but Battles in the North, the first Deicide album, those records are full of errors, and yet they are fucking brilliant and will be classics until the end of time.
Yep.
Quick one as we begin to wrap up now. Shows that you guys might be playing, like what plans are afoot to go out and promote the new album?
So we don't have anything yet. We're looking at maybe doing something later in the year, just because we want to make it a good show, a good package or whatever it is that we're going to do. So we've got to figure it out, but we don't have anything yet, but we will. So once we do, it'll be posted on the socials and, our Instagram and Facebook. But as you know, we don't get out live very much just because of the busyness of all of us and our personal lives, unfortunately. But we have some plans to do. We don't know when yet.
And any other, if you think about what you would like to achieve with this record being out, like if you think about it as a 2-3 year cycle, have you set any goals for yourself in terms of something that you would like this record to be able to do for you?
I should have a better answer for this, but I don't know. I would just like for this record to have a bigger reach than Fires. And that's kind of it's just, can we get a bigger reach and can we get more people to listen to what we're doing each album? So that's really my only goal, because ultimately, since we don't tour and we don't play live very much, that's all I want is to push the music as far as it'll go and hopefully reach more people. And, that's kind of it. So I know it's a really canned answer and it's boring, but that's it for me.
You should be treating this like a fight, mate. Calling bands out, like if you think you can show us up, put us in the support slot for you. That's what I said.
Well, since we don't play live much, I know there's the bands that do, they're shit hot. So when you go up against them and it's like they've already been honing their craft and we're coming in off a 3-year hiatus, it's a little bit of ring rust. So you have to get back in there and earn it.
Yeah. No, that's a fair point. Speaking of guys who have earned it, I just want to say a very quick congratulations to my friends in Werewolves for being picked to support Abath when he plays in Australia. Yeah. I have seen Abath do this Immortal set of his at Beyond the Gates. That was fucking spectacular. I think everybody in Australia that goes and watches those shows are in for a treat, because not only will Abath absolutely fucking tear you a new one, but so will Werewolves. I found us a final song to listen to as we round off the news rant. Rib Spreader launch as God's Devour single. As part of their upcoming studio release as God's Devour, death metalers Rib Spreader offer enlisting a brand new track in preview called As God's Devour. This will be released on Extreme Music, a label synonymous with mediocrity. But anyway, let's hear what this sounds like. All right, I'm going to pause it there. I think that might be the dumbest fucking lyric I've ever heard. Only the lyrics generally are stupid, but I want to devour your pork sweet and sour.
That got an audible laugh for me. And if that's the point, well done. Nailed it. If it's not, then I don't know. I really don't know.
You know the problem with Rib Spreader, they are like a great many bands that are from, Rib Spreader are from Sweden, similar to the band I'm about to compare them to, which I think anybody can guess. But, you know, there's so many bands that come out that all try and sound like an Ever-Flowing Stream or Indecent and Obscene by Dismember, and they just fail dismally. And the only thing that they are able to achieve with what they put out is to remind me how fucking great those two records are and how timeless they are. You know, so why in a million years, if I can listen to those two albums whenever I want, why would I ever want to listen to Rib Spreader?
That's exactly what I was thinking when this was playing. I was like, it made me just want to listen to Dismember or even like Bloodbath. It's like, I'll listen to those bands. But like Dismember, that's a flawless band too, for the most part. Like, they get the guitar tone, but other than that, the songs aren't there, you know?
No. Songs aren't there, and they're talking about eating sweet and sour pork on a... I've never heard of a band using Chinese takeaways as a Chinese takeout as subject matter.
I'm kind of into it though. Like if you would theme a record around it, I could maybe we could do something with that.
Yeah, who knows? Justin, I want to say thank you so much for your time. Congratulations once again on a great record, and what a blast having you on. You can come on again anytime you want for some more shit talking. But yeah, thank you very much to you. Thank you also to Nick Holmes from Paradise Lost. Make sure you check out the new Krigsgrav and the new Paradise Lost albums coming your way very soon. And if you have stuck around until the very end, thank you so much, Legion. Wherever it is that you are and whatever it is that you are doing, I'll see you bad motherfuckers again next week.